Hello and welcome to the Craft Beer Corner. For today's beer review, we're jumping into a flavored New England style IPA from Destination Unknown Beer Company. They're based in Bayshore, New York. This specific beer is called Science of Selling Piña Coladas. And I'm pretty sure that they have several different beers with the Science of Selling and then something else. So this is the Piña Colada flavored version. This is, as I said, a New England style IPA. It clocks in at 7.2% ABV, and it's been brewed with pineapple, coconut, vanilla, and lactose. So label art on this one, very clean design. It's just got their logo, and then it's got some kind of lab equipment running on the side. Piña Colada in a big tall glass. Probably getting glare, but nonetheless, nice clean design. Let's get this cracked. All right, and while we're doing so, I can say I'm very excited for this one because I absolutely love Piña Colada. That is a fantastic combination of flavors, pineapple and coconut. They were absolutely made to go together. So this should be really, really nice. New England style with lactose to kind of accentuate these flavors, and Piña Colada flavor backs. I didn't quite get the whole thing in there. That was forming a really, really nice head. Very tight, creamy, foamy head there it formed. Visually, yeah, there's a little haze to this. It's in New England, so that's rather expected. In terms of carbonation, it's quite active. I see why that big rush to make that head formed, and I'm seeing mostly very small, tiny, fine champagne-like bubbles. So that obviously is always a good sign when we're talking about head formation. So let's just get right up over this and give it a sniff. Oh yeah. Yeah, that smells really nice. You can really smell the pineapple and coconut coming off of that, but I can also really smell the hops that they used in this beer. I don't expect this to be a super bitter beer at all, but there's definitely some hops that were used that are imparting some aromas of melon and other assorted tropical fruit. So very good selection before I even jump in, at least from the aroma perspective, to pair well with this kind of piña colada essence of a beer. So smells really great. It looks really great. Head is still quite thick. It's settled down to maybe about an inch, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. It's going to make a mess in my beard, but I want to see what this tastes like. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. That is a delicious beer. Absolutely delicious. So before I get into the flavor profile, let's talk texture and weight. Mouthfeel, I expected really just based on how thick and creamy that head formed that I would get a lot of rich, creamy silkiness and a fair bit of resistance on the mouthfeel. Not really. It feels more or less exactly like an IPA should in this ABV range. Nothing crazy. It doesn't feel foamy, doesn't feel silky or creamy. You can just feel the slight resistance of it as you move it back and forth across the palate. In terms of the weight, it's got a textbook weight for an IPA in this ABV range. Yes, it does have lactose that can often tend to make beers much thicker in terms of mouthfeel and heavier in terms of weight, but in this, feels very much like a standard IPA, both in terms of mouthfeel and in weight. So let's talk about the flavors here. Absolutely delicious. It hits you right up front. This is a Piña Colada flavored New England style IPA. The pineapple comes out very clearly. The coconut comes out very clearly. So it really does taste like the essence of a Piña Colada. The vanilla that's in there adds a little richness. I think that helps to kind of bind with and help the coconut pop out. Pineapple is a very pungent fruit, and coconut is in a beer, it can get lost. It works quite well as like kind of toasted coconut, things that you'll often find in porters and stouts as an addition, but in an IPA, especially when you're fighting a strong fruity flavor, I think the addition of that vanilla was smart because it adds that richness and those flavors naturally kind of pair together and it really helps the coconut pop out. It doesn't taste like vanilla. I think it just adds that little oomph to let that underlying richness of the coconut kind of drive through so that it just doesn't get completely drowned out by the pineapple. And next, let's talk about the hops. So very clearly you could smell what smells like melons and other assorted tropical fruit on the nose. Smelled very, very fruity. And yes, this does taste like a Piña Colada. And yes, that lactose addition does give a little bit of sweetness, but really only to the point to let the fruit that they added in actually come through and taste like themselves. So pineapple tastes like pineapple, coconut tastes like coconut. It's not what I would categorize as an overly sweet beer. And indeed, there are some nice hop bitters that are present. It comes in really about 2-3 seconds after the initial burst of the Piña Colada flavors hit you. And then certainly on the decay, as the flavor intensity is backing down, the bitters really start to become even more readily apparent. As the pineapple and coconut intensity dials back, the bitters really do become present. And it's not overwhelming bitters. This is still a New England style IPA, but there is definitely a noticeable hop bittering, hop flavor that comes through, as well as that hop aroma. Hop flavors, really mostly earthy, with just a little bit of some tropical fruit. So it's a really good selection. I don't know the exact hop blend that they used in this, but I gotta say, I think they chose them very, very well for what they were trying to do with this beer. So I'm gonna jump back in, I'm gonna have a second sip, we're gonna pick apart anything else I might have missed, and I'm really gonna kind of pay very acute attention to how the flavors intensify and what else I get as the flavor develops and how it decays. Oh yeah, that's so good. It's just immediate. Piña Colada. It's so present. It's just perfectly balanced. That pineapple and coconut has this nice rush of intensity immediately up front. And it holds for just a few seconds and it slowly starts to decay down. And it's a gradual decay. It's not a massive dive. So it's a relatively even bell curve. In terms of how the hops present themselves, yeah, it's really, give or take 5 seconds in, right after the peak of the intensity of the coconut and pineapple come in, at least on second sip, this is what I'm getting. That's when the hops really start to make themselves apparent, and then you start to taste some other fruit flavors. And as this pineapple and coconut continues to slowly die down in intensity, the ever-present hop underlying bitters and flavors they're bringing to the table become a lot more apparent. It's really nice. It's this earthiness, slight tropical fruit notes, and it's there, and it all just works together. This is a very cohesive beer. It's very, very well done. I think that Destination Unknown absolutely nailed this with what they were trying to do. Pineapple, coconut, vanilla, lactose, and New England IPA to let it taste like a Piña Colada. Job well done. I am a massive fan of this one. I'm going to take my time, sip on this, come up with my scores. When we come back, we'll get this beer ranked from top to bottom. All right, now that we've gotten to enjoy this beer, we're going to get it ranked. This was Destination Unknown Beer Company's Science of Selling Piña Colada version, a flavored New England style IPA, clocking in at 7.2% ABV, brewed with pineapple, coconut, vanilla, and lactose. Destination Unknown Beer Company is based in Bayshore, New York. So starting with the aroma, I rather expected with the ingredients that they put into this beer that it would have a pronounced aroma, and indeed it did. You could very clearly smell the pineapple and the coconut. The vanilla not so much, but it really did smell quite nice. Had a more pronounced aroma than you would expect for your average New England style. It really did come down to the volume of the pineapple and coconut they added. Overall, the aroma gets a 9 out of 10. For the taste, I absolutely loved it. Fantastic beer. This was really, really well done, and it truly did taste like a Piña Colada, but much to my pleasant surprise, there was actually a hop presence to this beer, and it didn't really get in the way of the flavors of the Piña Colada coming through. That came through very much up front with a nice burst of intensity. It was as the kind of intensity was dying down that these kind of underlying earthy and kind of tropical fruit and melon hop characteristics also came into the party, and it really blended well with the natural inherent flavors of the pineapple and coconut. Absolutely loved it. Taste gets a 10 out of 10. For the body, textbook for the style and the ABV range, it gets a perfect 10 out of 10. Mouthfeel, same story here. It had the right amount of resistance, was very much what I expected, again, for a New England style IPA in this ABV range. Mouthfeel also gets a perfect 10 out of 10. For the finish, New England IPAs, you never really know what you're going to get. This one, definitely longer than your average New England style. Part of that comes from the pungency of the pineapple and coconut and how long of a decay it had. But another large part was they were not shy about their use of hops in this beer. And that really did also help drag out the length of the finish. And indeed, you even got a little bit of bitters on the back end. Really nice, enjoyable beer. Finish gets a 9 out of 10. For the head and retention, this one did beautifully. Gets a perfect 10 out of 10. For the appearance, looked textbook. Had a nice little haze to it. Looked like your typical New England style IPA. Appearance gets a perfect 10 out of 10. For the balance, I think they nailed it. The essence of the beer, for what they were doing with it, that Piña Colada, absolutely hit the mark. And then the added bonus for me was just the intensity of the hops. They also had their own voice and played their part in the beer, and everything just worked together. Balance, perfect 10 out of 10. Feeling in the intangible, subjectively, I love this one. I gave it a perfect 10. And finally, as an example of the style. There's a ton of New England style IPAs out there with all sorts of additive ingredients, some just plain New England. This was definitely enjoyable. If you're a fan of the style and certainly a Piña Coladas, this is one to seek. I thought they nailed it. Example of the style gets a perfect 10 out of 10, which brings the total score on Destination Unknown Beer Company's Science of Selling Piña Colada version to a 98 out of 100. Guys, this beer was absolutely delicious. If you're a fan of New England style IPAs, if you're a fan of Piña Coladas or just fruited beers, fruited IPAs in general, this is absolutely one to keep on your radar. I know they have a lot of different versions. I love Piña Coladas, so this is the one I went with. I was not disappointed at all. I do highly recommend this one. Folks, that's today's review. As always, I do sincerely appreciate you tuning in today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to stay in the loop when our videos go live, just turn on the notifications, hit that bell icon. It's right next to the subscribe button. Until next time, keep it beer, keep it craft. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.